Welcome back to another episode of CHP Sports with Kenny. Well, Kenny's to my left, and Anthony, that's myself. Uh, we are back after a week off since I went on vacation. I had the audacity to actually do something with my wife. How dare I?
Yeah.
Uh,
Crazy
I
talk.
know, I know. It was a great time off.
Yeah.
We went to the sort of Smoky Mountain region and got a lot of hiking in. We saw three bears. I had one bear I was like 12 feet away from, kind of just turned a corner, and we were face to face basically. And yeah, that was pretty cool, and for a moment, very scary.
Were you
But
carrying anything in
no,
defense?
no, absolutely not. Literally walked out of the cabin, was looking out like to my left, and turned right, and kind of walked to the edge of the cabin, and then looked right in this little patch of grass. And I looked right, and my first thought was, who stuck the bear sculpture on the little lawn? Because being from Columbus, Ohio,
Yeah.
and city, always living in a city, black bears aren't a thing that you see ever. And the only time you see them is like either as sculptures or like stuffed animals.
Yeah.
And so when you see the thing there, that's the first thing you think of. And then very quickly, it's very fast. I realized, no, that's a real bear, Anthony, that you're looking at. It wasn't too big. I don't think it was full grown, but it also wasn't a baby. So I
Yeah.
would say it was a juvenile, kind of like maybe like first year on its own.
At least you had the comfort of the cabin there, at least, right? You could just ran back in there if need be.
Yeah. I took they're not very like most of them, if they're not human acclimated, which there are a lot of signs to say, like, don't feed the bears. We don't want to acclimate them to humans. So they're generally pretty afraid of us.
Yeah.
So, we there was like a pause where we kind of both were looking at each other because he definitely saw me first. I'm assuming it was a he. And, so by the time I saw him, he was already frozen, kind of looking at me. I froze and we kind of like looked right at each other. And then I took a step back because I was like, all right, I'm going to slowly back off because that's what you're supposed to do. But back off, I took a step back and then he kind of scurried kind of up there as like a kind of a game path, right? Because our cabin was like pushed against the woods. And we were literally, the cabin was the road in front of it. On the other side was the Smoky Mountain National Park, right? So this is not surprising that we saw a bear here. And so he kind of ran up into the trees behind the cabin, and then we had there was a loft in the cabin, so we were able to run up there in the house and get photos. He kind of stopped back there, and we had a great view of him right out our back window. So it was really cool. It was very,
Nice.
very fortunate. I was glad. It was like, it was good for me. It seemed like it was good for the bear. The bear didn't seem too
Yeah.
fussed about it, which is good. We being an ecologist, right? You see how much we have damaged the ecosystem. There's a reason we're in the sixth major extinction of all of life on Earth right now. So it's good whenever you can have positive interactions with wildlife where the wildlife's not hurt, you're not hurt.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I'm used to it where I live. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I live in the woods, so I see a lot. I'm always worried because once in a while it's like, oh, there's a bear down here somewheres, and you're like, where I live, it's like it wouldn't surprise me if it ended up here because there's lots of woods. But it's always like my worst nightmare to like be running a trail or running in the park and oh, there's a bear there, and you're like on mile 3 and you're dead tired. I don't know how much I got left in me. But yeah, because you're not around here, you're not thinking of carrying like bear mace or something like that. So, but yeah, that's
You're not. I mean, to be fair, like again, black bears aren't really typically a threat. So
and that's basically what's around here. If it were to be a bear, it'd be a black bear. Yeah, you don't want to get in like with a mom and her babies or something like that.
We did see a mom and a baby. That was a couple days later. We were on a main trail though, like a paved kind of like main trail. It's like one of the ones that are in the park. There's like a million people on it.
Yeah,
and they were, definitely the bear definitely knew where all the people were. Like and they were kind of down off the path. And I actually saw it first, because we were kind of in between a gap of people. And there was a rustle. I heard the rustle looked, and I point out there was a bear.
Yeah.
And then following that bear was a very small bear. That was very clearly a baby. So it was cool.
Very cool.
So it was a great vacation. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
And I managed to watch a lot of what our main topic will be for today, which is the Olympics.
Yeah.
We did manage to watch a lot of highlights and stuff at night in hotel rooms and in the cabin we were staying in Gatlinburg. So I guess we'll start there. You mentioned off right before we started recording, I guess the main story, there are many stories that we could talk about, but we'll start, I guess, with one of the big ones because we're recording on Monday. And so by the time this goes out, we'll probably know the results of if she competes in the balance beam exercise or not. Right now, it's looking like she is. But Simone Biles not sort of pulling out of initially the team competition. She did the first event and then pulled out, and then not doing the all round or the first 3 individual events for which she was qualified for. So I guess, Kenny, we'll start with you. What are your general thoughts on this?
Yes, I mean, a huge story, right? Probably the most decorated gymnast of all time, right? She's done it all at this point. So initially I'm like, and I don't want it to sound sort of a way, but I was disappointed, right? I want to see her compete because you want to see the best gymnast to ever compete. It's like watching Michael Jordan play basketball. Like if he's like, oh, I'm not playing tonight, you're like, damn. Like imagine if I went to a Sixers game and they were playing the Bulls and Michael Jordan was a scratch that night, right? I'd be disappointed because that's
right.
That's why I wanted to go. Like you want to watch the Olympics to see Simone Biles compete. If you don't, you're not really into the Olympics or you're not into gymnastics at all because she's the best, right? Probably the best ever to do it. So initially I'm like, oh, that sucks, and then it was like, oh, she's just not doing team. She's not feeling good or whatever it was. I thought, oh, maybe she's hurt or banged up a little bit because she does do some really high level tricks. And so, and then it was like, I'm like, oh man, it stinks for team wise, but maybe she'll still do the individual. That was the initial report. And then it came out that she wasn't doing the individual and then she wasn't doing the vault. She wasn't doing the floor, right? And you're like, oh man. And then just today you see, oh man, she's back in it now doing the balance beam. But yeah, it's just tough. It's a tough thing to think about. There's so many moving parts. She said she was having a tough time mentally and something I understand a lot about, which from being through what I've been through. So, and everybody has their opinions about that. But what matters is she's going to do what's best for herself. We still had the girl win the gold in the all around, which is really cool to see. That shows you how strong.
Sydney Lee.
Yeah, it shows you how long the American team was really strong. You lose your greatest of all time, and then Sydney Lee wins the gold, right? So that was cool to see. And and the team still got silver, right? And I think that was a testament to them, just stepping up and being tough. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what I think about what happened, right? It's again, it's just like you want to see her compete because she's just so amazing to watch. And having what do they call it? Twisties, yeah. So with the type of tricks that she does, it's clearly putting her in probably more danger, even more because her skills she is going higher and further and doing more twists. And you could tell in the trial, like I was watching the qualifying, right? And you could tell something was a little off. You could see it.
Yeah, one vault she did that she did do, like you could tell like midway through, you can tell she completely loses where she is in the air and just stops like spinning.
I could tell immediately. Something's not right with her. She didn't look like, if you've seen her compete before, there's never a doubt when she hits those kinds of things. Yeah. So you could tell something was off, and it's okay. It is what it is. She obviously doesn't want to do something and snap her neck or break a leg or do something like that. So it makes sense. And I've talked about mental health before and all that kind of stuff. And if she's struggling with that kind of stuff, and this was the best decision she had to make for herself, and that's what really matters in the end. It doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks or says, or so that's kind of my take. And it just stinks because you want to see her compete selfishly, but you also don't want to see her get terribly injured or something like that. So
yeah, no, I agree. I think it was, I think initially, I had the sort of same reaction. It's like, oh darn, like because she is the goat, right? There's a reason she has the goat on her leotard, and on her like slippers, I think. So you selfishly, you're like, oh, it'd be nice to see. Everyone knows she's the best.
Yeah.
So it's like the Olympics, you want to see the best, and I feel bad for her because she is the best, right? There's no reason she shouldn't walk away with the all-around gold, and probably would have been a gold in the team if she competes.
Yeah.
That's not to discount what our other ladies ended up doing, getting the silver. They were great.
Yeah.
But she is the best, right? So, her scores are across all 4 events are generally higher than everyone else's.
And they're going to bump them up enough to probably
Yes, because
not
we
win
didn't lose
easily.
by a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say not win easily, but they're probably gonna win pretty comfortably with her scores with her normal scores. And
Yeah,
it just shows you too. The Olympic trials are like almost like her toughest competition at that point. Not that the
yeah,
world doesn't have other great gymnasts, but like some of the toughest competition is at home, right? Just winning
yeah.
the U.S. trials and you don't realize it because she's so good, but there's some really good gymnasts on that team. So it was cool to kind of see them be able to put themselves on display and it was cool too. I think was it Michaela that got to come back because Simone was out?
Yeah, Michaela Skinner won the golden floor just,
Or
I guess, yesterday. It's so
yeah,
weird because they're ahead of us. So it's like, all right, I
yeah,
think it
it's like
was
today,
yesterday.
but yesterday. Today there, but
Michaela,
yesterday.
yeah, Michaela Skinner won the golden floor. I know, and her routine was great. I did watch at least the highlights of her routine. She did a phenomenal job. So congrats to her.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
Simone being out allowed that, right? Was that what
think
it was?
so.
Something like that, or
I
she was an alternate. But
Yeah,
either way, there's been some girls that have had an opportunity to
yeah,
step up and do some cool things, or maybe because someone was so good, they weren't getting that opportunity. But then you see like how good we really are as a team. So that was cool to see. And the men's did pretty well too. I think they got fourth or fifth overall.
I don't remember. I don't think
Yeah,
I didn't follow the men's that closely.
I think it was something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
so with Simone, to just finish off on that, I think
yeah,
I think she made the right decision. I think in some ways, I mean, I think the way they phrased it was completely fine, right? In terms of if she was having, if it's mental health issues, she doesn't owe us jack shit, in my opinion,
no,
right? Like, what have I done for Simone Biles? Nothing,
nothing.
right? I've rooted in front of my TV or my computer screen, right?
Yeah,
So she doesn't owe me anything. So yes, it's her journey. It's her, like having someone you met on the internet saying, "Oh, your mental health's not important. Go out there and compete." Like, why? Right? Especially, that to me that alone, just saying it was mental health should have been enough. I think the USA Gymnastics and her could have avoided a lot of the blowback, which again I don't think was justified at all. But just because knowing how people are, and you're going to get blowback on her pulling out no matter what,
yeah,
to avoid some of it, if you would have said initially that it was she was experiencing this twisties thing and it's a safety matter for her, like it's not safe for her to be doing these tricks, I think it would have been less blowback.
yeah,
I think just because we need to start, and I think there is this change slowly happening, but I think we need to just start treating mental health as just an injury, right? Just like anything else, right?
yeah.
It's an injury to your mind, not your
Not a
body.
physical one, but it could have
Yeah.
turned
So
into a physical one.
exactly, right?
Yeah,
And and like I said, in gymnastics, right, for this particular issue she seemed to be experiencing, it's extremely dangerous, right? If you see the way she vaults, if she gets it wrong, she's dead,
yeah,
right?
or
And
messed
so it's
up.
like,
Yeah, pretty
yeah,
bad.
you can't be like, oh yeah, you're fine, just go on out there
Yeah,
for what a piece of metal, and so we
yeah.
can watch you. Like, no, it doesn't matter that much. Your
But
health matters.
I really agree with you though about how it was let out, presented. I think they didn't do a very good job there at all. I think, like I was saying to you before we came on, there were so many different stories coming out. Like, get your story again. Not even on her. Who's releasing this news? Like, hey, she's having some mental issue. First, it was she was injured, right, and then it changed to she was having a mental issue. Then there were just different scenarios coming out, and then it
I
wasn't
don't
she
think it was
wasn't
different scenarios. I think it's one
well,
of
not
those
different,
things.
but it was just the wording of it. You weren't sure what was happening, really.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think there's a fine line where it's if you or I get injured, and someone asks us, "Hey, like what's going on?" You're like, "Oh, I have a health issue."
yeah,
No one you legally can't ask more. Like if you're at
yeah,
work,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
No,
But
I
like
get that. Yeah,
athletes, we expect to give us like the nitty gritty, like exactly what's wrong. Like what? Why? The answer, of course, is betting. Right? The answer really comes down to betting most of the time, but
yeah. Even more so
they
now.
shouldn't owe us that.
Yeah,
Right? Like it's their health. Like if you're some dude that works at the grocery store and I ask you like, "Oh, you missed the day because you had some illness,"
yeah.
you don't have to tell me what it is.
And that's the thing
So
too. Like, you would an athlete too when you say, "Oh, someone's injured," you're like, "Oh, she must be pretty beat up," because I mean, gymnasts in general are tough as nails. They train through a lot of pain, So I'm like, oh, she must be really hurt, And then it was, oh, it was a mental thing, and then I was like, oh, well, that's totally not what I was thinking. You know what I mean? And there was that shift there, and I'm like, well, I'm glad, that they're giving her grace, I guess, right? For because a lot of people don't think that's a big deal. And for someone who's been through that kind of stuff, it is a big deal. Some days you don't want to work. Some days you don't want to work out or do physical things or compete in the Olympics, right? It's a whole different.
I think NBC has done a great job of having Michael Phelps on as someone who has, he's a really high profile name that's dealt with mental health issues and been very open about it. So I think having him do a lot of, some of like the side sort of commentary, like when they come back to Mike Tirico, I think is very good because I think it does shine a bigger light on it. And I hate to say that having a white male will help validate the issue in more people's eyes, but unfortunately, that's probably the truth.
And he's a GOAT, right? He's another person who's
he's another GOAT, and
greatest of all time in a sport. He brings a lot of credibility to the table there. So
and then he's well liked. Which again, you hate to say that there's a sort of gender factor there or a race factor there, but probably for a lot of people, and again, this shouldn't be the case. Like again, Simone Biles thing is Simone Biles thing, and that stands on its own.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, having him be there as like a sort of spokesperson for mental health, I think helps a lot. Right.
But I think too, he's always been a relatable athlete. I think he's always kept it real with a lot of things. I mean, and he's been a good advocate for as good as he's been, right? As great as that guy
he's definitely struggled with
it. He's been open about a lot of things, so I think that makes him seem more relatable, right? He's down to earth guy.
So I think between that and Simone taking a stand, and her being the GOAT as well and being like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not right. Yeah. I think it's good for bringing mental health awareness to a wider audience. They're both very likable. They're both the GOATs in their respective sports. So that helps, I think. Yeah. All right. So what's another thing from the Olympics the last week or so or coming up that was impressive to you or a topic worth mentioning?
The swimmer guy we talked about him.
Caleb Dressel.
Yeah, he was impressive to watch. And he did the 50 meter Saturday night, and I just knew as soon as he jumped in the pool that he won. He was just like a foot ahead of everybody when he came out of the water, and he just going, and he almost broke the world record.
Yeah, his starts were so consistent. Like every start, he was had the best starts and came out last and with the lead pretty much every time. It was super impressive, super consistent for his first. I think it's his first Olympics. So
that's amazing.
Obviously, I think he won the 100 fly or 100 butterfly, 50 free. Did he win? I think he won the 100 free too. Right? He won like 5 gold medals.
He won a bunch. Every time I looked, when my phone was popping up, Dressler wins another gold. I'm like, God, this guy's unbelievable. And then I watched him Saturday, and I was like, oh my God, this dude is like a freak show here. So it was really cool to see that. So he must have won 4 or 5 gold. He had to have. And then I watched a really good race, the 1500 meter. And the German guy was ahead the entire race.
I didn't watch the men's. I watched Ledecky and the women's, but I heard the men's was really good. It
was crazy. There was 3 guys the whole time right next to each other. The German guy was just a little ahead. What was his name? It was like Wilbrock was his last name or something like that. I remember it because it had Brock in it, right? And he was and it was him, another guy, and then the American guy. And on the last length, the American guy literally just took off and probably put a half body length, almost a whole by the end. And he won. It was really, man, what a tough race, right? It's almost like a mile of swimming. And it was really cool to see. It was a good race. The 1500.
Florian Wellbrock was the German guy.
Wellbrock, that's it, Florian.
That's crazy. Yeah, there was Well, all within a second. That's
Yep, it
not,
was.
like a second and a half.
It was those final three on that last stretch. It was cool. So, and then the 17-year-old girl from Alaska winning. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw the video of like her high school.
I did.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
insane. Such a cool moment. You know what I mean? Imagine
yeah.
going to that high school in Alaska. Like, what do you got going on, really? Right? And then you got a girl in the Olympics, and she wins. And it was pretty much an upset, wasn't it, too? Like, wasn't
I believe
Ledecky in
so. Yeah,
that?
she wasn't
Yeah.
expected to win.
Yeah. So crazy scene there. That looked really cool. Any other thoughts on the swimming stuff?
The swimming stuff, yeah. I mean, Ledecky's always impressive. I mean, it's weird. Swimming more than any other sport makes me feel really old because it seems like the best, especially the best female swimmers, are between like 17 and 20.
Yeah, they're
So,
young.
like, how are they so good at such a
Yeah.
young age? Ledecky, I think Ledecky's 24, and you're like, I feel like I've been hearing she's been in the last 3 Olympics. It's like, oh my God, how many Olympics is she going to, obviously with Phelps, he was in like 4 or 5, I think 4 or 5 Olympics in a row. He sort of had a similarly long career that she's setting up to have. And I hope she
Yeah.
does because she's phenomenal. I love watching her swim. But she, I think her breadth of ability is just super impressive, right? The fact that she can, I know she didn't get in. I was talking to my wife about it. She's like, didn't Ledecky not do well in the 200-meter freestyle? And I was like, well, she got fifth, I think. And she's like, was that not good? I'm like, well, she got to the final, and so she's fifth in the world, and she's like one of the best, like middle to long distance swimmers, if not the greatest of all time for a woman. And she went down to basically a sprint distance. So
And
I think
still
that's
got
pretty
fifth in the
pretty darn
world.
good.
Yeah.
I
I'm not
mean,
fifth
I
in the
don't think
world.
you're way off there if you're.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so Katie Ledecky, I think, was phenomenal. The Australian women were great. I do not remember their names or what events. I apologize to them if they happen to be watching this. But they were amazing in the events they won. I guess the one event I was like super surprised at, I guess obviously from an American perspective, I was most surprised at was the mixed medley, the 4x100 mixed medley, where we got like fourth or fifth. So you have 2 men, 2 women, and each one does a
okay.
different stroke for 100
Yeah,
meters, and we got smashed.
yeah, and you think we'd
Um,
be really strong there, right? With
yeah,
the
I don't know what
people we
like
have.
it was not like obvious like where I'm not a swim expert,
Yeah.
especially at that level, but it wasn't obvious to me where exactly everything went wrong. It seemed like the breaststroke, but
And
I don't know.
I saw the I think it was the 4x1 women's, full women's. And I think it is medley as well. And they
Yeah, where
lost.
everyone does a different stroke.
Yeah, the Australian girls won that.
Yeah, I think Australia won that one. I
Yeah, and
did
I
see
think
that one.
US was third, I think.
Yes, because that was the one Ledecky ran like she anchored it and had like a 153 crazy
Fast
last.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, fast time or 53 second. It
But
was crazy
they
whatever
were
she did.
behind a bit before she got up. So
Yeah, and
she
she
had,
almost got like a
yeah.
medal or almost got gold. Like she did something incredible. Her
Yeah.
leg. So yeah, so swimming was fun. I think it's the only time I'm ever into swimming is once every 4 years or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. Obviously now, we're headed into the sort of final week of the Olympics, and track and field is sort of the dominant thing this week. And it's crazy that you start off with the women's 100 meters, the men's 100 meters. Obviously, in the women's 100 meters, the big story is a Jamaican sweep. They get 1, 2, 3. The winner sets a new Olympic record, beats Flojo's old record. Which is right at like that 10.6 time frame. I think it was maybe 10.6 or 10.61. I think it was 10.61 because I posted that, which is flying. I think Flojo's record, the Olympic record that stood forever, is 10.62. So very fast. I know we've talked about Flojo in the past and sort of the issues potentially surrounding those records. The Olympic record isn't that surprising because women have been in the 10.6s. So to see a 10.61 is not like out of the realm of what women have been running.
Well, and especially with
Obviously,
them all running against each other, just pushing each other at that point. They
yeah.
know who's in there with them.
Yeah, so not obviously we've talked about Sha'Carri Richardson not being there, and it's who knows how the story may change if she is, but
Yeah.
congrats to the Jamaican women, and I would argue maybe the GOAT of women's short distance sprinting, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, who got the silver in the 100. She's also competing in the women's 200, the results will probably be out for the women's 200 when this comes out, or shortly. Again, the dates all get mixed up in my head, but I think when this comes out, they will have been completed. But yeah, so she's going for the 200. She made the final of the 200, so we'll see what she does there. And she's looked really good in the semifinals and initial round. So she's just phenomenally fast, and especially which is amazing given that she's 5'0" tall. So
it was impressive.
That was really impressive.
Yeah, in the 100 to see them win in the semis. I was watching, see them win by like a lot in 100 meters. That's when you realize how fast they actually are. Like,
I mean, to me, that's probably the most impressive thing, and why I like watching the initial rounds for the various sprints is because you see these athletes basically just shut it down, like with a fifth of the race left, and they run a time that's like within, like a half second of a world record, or like a set, depending on the distance, obviously.
And they're 6 strides ahead of the pack.
They're meters ahead of all these other world-class athletes that would destroy like a normal person by half a lap.
Yeah, easily.
So I noticed it most. I found it most impressive in the women's 400-meter hurdles with, now I'm gonna forget their names. The 2 American athletes who switch flip-flopping who has the world record. Anyway, they both of them have looked phenomenal in the initial heats, and they're jogging like the last 100 meters, and no one's even close. Like no one is like, so they're running times that are, they're running times that are faster than I've ever run in a flat 400, and they're jogging across the line.
And they're doing hurdles too.
Yes, it's absurd.
Yeah,
absurd.
And to me, that's the craziest thing about it is like they're competing against the best in the world, and they're making them look slow. I always see the thing where they're like, they should post a regular human or bring a regular human to run the races to see how slow they are. But they're making the best in the world look like regular humans. It's crazy how unbelievably talented some of these people are, and just gifted with their physical prowess. Just fast people. I was never that fast, so I'm always in awe of that.
No, and then we had the men's 100, which was a big upset, I guess, or dark horse. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was won by an Italian, it's Italy's first ever 100-meter, I believe, medalist, much less gold, certainly not first gold medalist, maybe medalist ever in the 100. Very good time, very fast time, not the fastest in the world this year, but very fast, 9.8 flat. Second place went to an American, Fred Curley, who we've talked about before because he dropped down from the 400. He was a 400 guy, managed to drop down to 100 and get silver. He ran a 9.84, which was his personal best. So congrats to him. Like, running your personal best on the Olympic stage to get a silver medal is pretty darn good. It's pretty much what you want to happen.
You can't ask for much better than that.
So he ran a great race.
9.8 is still really fast.
It's flying. I mean, 9.8 is flying.
Yeah.
I think there were 7 guys in the race because I think one guy got DQ'd and one didn't start for some reason, or didn't finish. I think he pulled up with a hamstring.
Yeah, I'm looking at the guys that 6 guys finished under 10.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone that finished under 10. So very impressive 100-meter final, and it showed you how wide open the field was. I guess the biggest surprise was that America's Trayvon Bromell, who was the fastest guy this year, he was running sort of consistent 9.8s, and he ran like a 9.77 and a 9.79 earlier this year, and he mucked up his semifinal. He got out-leaned at the end and didn't qualify by like 1,000th of. I think he lost out on time by like 1,000th of a second. I saw. So like a super small amount. It wasn't even 100th. It was 1,000th of a second, which is just a bummer. Like he did not run the best race. He didn't control the race from the front. And because of that, he didn't, when you leave it to the end, that can happen. You get out.
Yeah. Don't leave it to the camera or the, any of that.
Yeah. So I feel bad for him, and that's, I think that's one of the things that, at least he got a chance to race, but I'm sure you've seen there have been cases where something horrible happens to someone like in the initial part of the race. The worst one I saw. This was Great Britain's. Her last name was Knight. She was their 4x400, or sorry, their 400-meter hurdle champion. And so in their first round, so she's the first round, her first race. I think it's the only race she was doing. She's in like lane 2, which was the innermost lane they were using. The gun goes off. She's running up to the first hurdle. Right before she goes to the first hurdle, it looked like her steps got off, but so as she brings her one leg forward like this, it clips her other leg. She trips and falls into the hurdle, and her race is over. She's a 4x4 or a 400-meter hurdler, and she went to the Olympics and didn't even go over a single hurdle.
That's
it was heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking to watch.
It's like she never got started.
Yeah, it's like how do you feel? Like what do you? If you're a family member, how do you console someone with that? They spend 5 years, or 5 years in this case.
Yeah, this year,
aiming for this goal. They get to the Olympics and they don't even get over one hurdle because they trip. It's horrible. It's like how many thousands of hurdles has she gone over and never tripped? And she trips in the Olympics in her first race.
Yeah, she's probably been doing it since high school, right, or grade school. Most cases. Especially
that was probably the most heartbreaking thing I saw in terms of feeling really bad for the athlete, where you're like, ugh, I didn't even care if you would have made it, but at least I wish you would have gotten around the track or gone over a few hurdles and then injured yourself or something, right?
Pull up with a hamstring or something.
Yeah, I feel bad in that case, but at least okay, as it is, it's all right, now you gotta wait another 4 years to have a chance to make the team. To oh my god,
yeah,
it sounds terrible.
And I think too, going back to Biles, I think that's maybe why people are like, oh man, she's never going to compete again. Because 4 years from now, do you see her competing in the Olympics again? I don't know.
The way she's talked about it makes it seem like it sounds like she's pretty close to done.
Yeah, and at this point, it makes sense. You know what I mean? As far as what she's accomplished so far. But yeah, you think about it in that sense, with the Olympics, that's why I feel like there's so much pressure sometimes, because it's you always have worlds every year, but the Olympics, it's not like that anymore, or not like that at all. So I think that's why too. And again, she owes nobody any explanation, but people are like, oh man, because they might not ever see her compete again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that sort of atmosphere. So yeah, selfishly, that's why it's you don't want to see that happen to anybody, or they trip over a hurdle, or they can't compete, or something strange happens. So yeah, it's never. But I think that's why we love the Olympics, because it is. It's so dramatic.
The highs are so high and the lows are so low.
Like I said, seeing that girl in our high school going crazy because she won that race. I mean, that was such a cool thing to see. What a great thing for their town. You know what I mean? Just a cool thing to see. And I think that's why the Olympics is so high pressure, because it's only coming every so many years. So yeah, the track was impressive. They're just impressive people, always to watch. Speed.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a good week, and we still have the 200 women's finals for the 200. Will be tomorrow Tokyo time. It'll be Tuesday Tuesday time. They had the semis today.
The field events starting sooner.
Field events have already started. I think there's been a few medals handed out for field events. I think I just saw that American woman won the discus.
Okay.
She threw 68 meters. I don't know how good that is, but she threw really far. I saw the highlight. It was very far.
Further than I can throw it.
Yeah, very much further than I could throw it.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting. And so it's just, I agree. I think it's, the highs are so high, and there's so much emotion that goes into it for all the competitors and coaches. It's cool to see the dark horses win, and sometimes it's cool to see the favorites win. When you have someone that's just been dominant the last year of competing, and they go in and set an Olympic record, or
it finishes off their year almost. It's
perform the way they're expected to perform, like Caleb Dressel. Everyone's well, we all know right now he is the fastest, but can he do it in the Olympics? And the fact is, he did it, and you saw that motion when he won his first. I think his first gold was the 100-meter fly, and I don't know if you saw the interview. He's crying in the interview because there was that much pressure that he put on himself, because he's it's that important to him.
and 10 out of 10 times, it's the pressure they're putting on themselves more, I think, than anything, because they're expecting greatness from themselves, and you're always tougher on yourself, I think, than anybody else is. So that was, I didn't see that interview. I'll have to go look at that. And I keep getting freaked out when I look for footage because it says 2020 Tokyo Olympics. I'm like, wait, it's the wrong year. It's 2021. He keeps messing me up. I'm like, I have the wrong video. Is this from last year? What is happening right now?
Yeah, keep that branding the same. Can't change the branding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually just go to NBC Sports, their YouTube, and just look at the videos they've uploaded, and that's the easiest way to find highlights for you and anyone else that's watching now.
Yeah,
that wants to find all the good highlights.
And there's been some other channels. NBC obviously, but then is it like TNT or TBS or one of those has been playing?
CNBC. It's all the like NBC owned stuff. So okay. CNBC, NBC Sports, Peacock hasn't. I don't think been. I have Peacock, but I haven't really. They don't show like anything of interest there. They'll show like highlights there, but they don't show stuff live. I don't think. I mean, I like.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Some of the I don't have NBC Sports, but I have or CNBC, and so we usually flip to that, and that's usually like volleyball, right? So I've seen way more. My wife's so tired of seeing volleyball. She's like, I'm tired of volleyball.
I did watch some of the indoor the regular volleyball, not the beach. Some of the female and male. Man, then people can hit the ball. I haven't
seen much of the male. Like I feel like whenever I put it on, I haven't seen. It hasn't been men, but I've seen a lot of the women's team. For whatever reason, they've just been on when I flipped over. I saw us just get smashed. All right, so here's a question. What are your thoughts? We'll finish up with this topic. This is a good topic. What are your thoughts on the what is it? The Russian Olympic Committee athletes?
ROC.
Yes.
The Rock.
The non-Russian, but everyone refers to as Russia group.
Yeah, and I was confused initially, right? I thought they were banned from any medals this year or anything, but here they are. It's all the same people, right? It's still their athletes. And yes, I saw them whoop the American volleyball team one day.
They whooped us bad too.
Yeah. It was, I think, 3 straight, right, sets they beat them.
Something like that. When I was watching, it was brutal.
So, I mean, it is frustrating. Right? If you're banned, you're banned. You shouldn't be able to just like, hey, we're this now. It's still the same people, And are they using again? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they found something else. I don't know. I thought about it when it first happened, and because I was confused. I was like, I thought Russia wasn't in it this year, and then they were, but they weren't. But they are. So
it's like they're not, but everyone knows it's just Russia. Like, so here's the thing, and I think it's a real sticky situation, right? Because the bans are for the Sochi Olympic stuff, 2014, basically, and the massive doping scandal that was then revealed at the other Olympics.
Did you see that Netflix
state-sponsored doping scandal?
Did you see that documentary on Netflix?
Yes. Yeah, it's very good.
Insane. Yeah, crazy documentary.
So, with that said, like you definitely want to punish them, but if I'm a 20-year-old athlete, right? Let's say I'm 21 years old. I was 14 years old at that time, happened. Right?
Yeah.
So should I be penalized? And let's say I'm clean, like I'm completely clean.
Yeah.
Should I be penalized and not be able to fulfill my Olympic dream as maybe I'm one of the best athletes in my sport in the world? I'm completely clean. Shouldn't I be able to compete? Given that I had nothing to do with that in 2014, I was in high school, just starting my sport, right? Wasn't part of anything, So I think it's a weird thing where how do you punish the state, right, Russia, without necessarily punishing athletes that had nothing to do with what was going on 7 years ago, which from an athletic standpoint is a pretty decently long time ago.
Yeah,
right? You're not necessarily getting a lot of carryover there. So I feel like their solution to just be like name them Russian Olympic athletes or Russian Olympic Committee group is like stupid. It's still Russia. Like the first word you're saying is still Russia.
Yeah.
Right. I think maybe having them all be unaffiliated, right? Just calling them unaffiliated and making them, they get no, like when they do the medal tallies, there's no like line for unaffiliated, right? You're unaffiliated, so there's no group total. Right.
Correct.
And in Russia, they can count it like however they
Yeah,
want.
if they
But
want. But
the rule is sort of
I totally agree with that because, like you said, it is a catch-22, right? You're going to penalize a kid that was probably a freshman in high school or something.
yeah.
And some people might say, "Hey, yeah, that's the price they pay for their country cheating." Like literally, they were in on the cheating, and maybe others got to suffer for it. So it might not even be the actual athletes. Some of them competed already, And then you look at a kid who's, I mean, let's be honest, kids are weightlifting when they're 6 years old in Russia, but I don't know when they start giving them performance enhancing stuff. So
take this pill.
Yeah, you don't know, right? They go to, it's basically like academies there where they train and stay there at young ages. It's like year round clubs, and that's why they're so good at weightlifting and gymnastics and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a good question because you're penalizing somebody that had nothing to do with it, right? But you still have to penalize them somehow. So yeah, make them unaffiliated. Don't have the medals count towards their country, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
So, and dealing with athletes that probably, like I said, even at 13 or 14 have been training for a long time, right? If they are in weightlifting, because I mean, I feel like weightlifting was one of the worst sports for it. Like that was where they were having a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So, who knows what went on or still goes on? You don't know. I mean, maybe they found a new steroid that no one can detect. I feel like it happens all the time, so, yeah, definitely an interesting topic, though. Good discussion. Who do we penalize actually, and why are we still calling
I
it
don't think
Russia?
there's a necessarily right or wrong answer.
Yeah,
Because I can see where you'd be just like, well, it's definitely
yeah,
just don't let them compete. Which I feel is a little harsh. Like if I'm an athlete that I was a little kid and now
yeah,
I'm maybe I'm just a teenager now. So I was literally like 10 years old.
yeah. Maybe you're a
When that was
17-year-old
going
swimmer that made the Olympics. You know what I mean? And which is
on.
possible. We've seen it. So, yeah, but it is, like I said, it is weird though that they're still calling them the Russia Olympic Committee. Like, still Russia, but
Yes.
that's what it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, but yeah, basketball. USA lost one game so far. They are in the quarterfinals, I believe, against Spain as their next game, which will be a good game for them.
Yeah, that's the men's. The women have been crushing it. The
Women
women's
have been
basketball
killing
team
it.
is just
Yeah,
smashing everyone.
correct.
Women's soccer, obviously,
They
just at
lost
time of recording, just lost to
Canada,
Canada. They
which is
just were not.
a pretty big upset. No,
Yeah,
like that shouldn't
we
have
haven't
happened.
lost to them in like 20 years or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Um, if it was like hockey or something, I could see like, okay, we lost to Canada, but you think soccer? I mean, we're the number. I think we're the number one ranked team in the country or in the world, or one of the top three in soccer.
we lost two in the Olympics, and I saw a Deadspin article today that was talking about like how the women's basketball team's not getting enough respect, and everyone's focused on the soccer team. So
Yeah,
the soccer team won 44 games in a row.
yeah.
Like they're not they were the best in the world up until the Olympics started.
Recently, yeah, that's what I mean.
Or
They've been
until
so
like
good.
right before the Olympics, I think
So
they
losing
lost.
to Canada, I think, was just like a huge upset, like
Yeah,
major,
so
major upset. But the USA
they had not been
women's,
playing well.
the basketball team, women's basketball team, I'd have turned the game off. It was they were just annihilating a small team by like it was like 30-point lead. And I'm like, and they're so good though. You look at their players; it's like literally the best players that have ever played, and they're all on the same team. I'm
Yeah,
like, it's like it's like Brittany Griner and the girl from UConn who never lost a game in college. I forget her name, but like
is Taurasi still playing?
I don't even
Diana
know.
Taurasi
Yeah,
playing
throw
right
her
now.
in there too. Like, well, there was Dana Taurasi, and then there was the new girl from UConn who broke all of Taurasi's records.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She didn't lose a single game in college. They won 4 straight years, 4 national titles. She was like player of the year, like all 4 years. Brianna something? Is it Brianna?
Brianna, yeah, I'm trying to figure. Let's see here. USA basketball women's 2020's Olympic Summer Olympics roster. Here we go. Sue Bird. Sue
Sue
Bird
Bird.
feels like been playing for forever.
Yeah, another goat, like just forever.
Brianna Stewart.
That's her, Brianna Stewart.
Yeah, Diana Taurasi is on the team.
Jesus.
Yeah, Brittany Griner. Yeah, it's just loaded. Just absolutely loaded. Yeah, just loaded. So yeah, they should handily win. If they don't win gold, it'll be one of the biggest upsets, I would say,
Yeah,
in the Olympics this year.
it's,
The
it's
men not winning gold, I think, is a distinct possibility.
yeah. I mean, they do look a little better now, like more continuity. I mean, they were missing Booker and Holiday and Middleton right early on when they were playing those exhibitions and stuff, and then that was like their first game they lost, right, because they were just it, you still got to be able to play as a team, and especially playing against some of those countries who are really good, number one, and they play the international way, I think, a little better than our guys do.
Yeah.
But at times with our guys, there's just so much talent, it doesn't matter, right? And I don't think the talent gap's that big anymore.
No, it's not.
No. So, and some of those countries have some of our best talent, some of our best players are playing in other countries right now. And then some of our best players aren't playing. So, it's definitely not the best team we could have sent there. Not even close, in my opinion. But they still have multiple all-stars. And, when Durant's on your team, I feel like you have a chance most of the time.
On paper, they should win.
Correct.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. But that never works out.
No.
No. Oh, and I did, man, and I was very, I don't want to say I was upset, but I mean, I'm not playing in the actual sport, so I wasn't that upset. But the women's softball team got silver, and I just felt like there were some strange coaching decisions made there with who they didn't play. I mean, Monica Abbott is basically the greatest pitcher ever. And her and Kat Osterman would go back and forth starting, and they got to the final against Japan. Monica Abbott apparently pitches in Japan League, right? That's where she makes her living. And they were worried that the players are going to be a little more used to her or seeing her pitching. But then I looked at her stats in the Japan League, and she's like a 6-time MVP. Her ERA is like nothing. I'm like, what are they worried about? Maybe she knows the batters better, right? So we started Kat Osterman. She did well for, I think it was 2 or 3 innings. And then they brought in this other girl who hadn't pitched yet in the Olympics. She gave up 2 runs, and they lost. And that was it. They lost the gold medal game. I think they lost 2-1 or something. But I was just like, if I'm going into that game, gold medal game, I'm starting Monica Abbott.
Your best player.
She throws 70 some miles an hour. Like, she is absolutely unbelievable pitching. And but when I think about it the other way, the U.S. really struggled on offense hitting. They were not very good. They were scoring 1 run a game and winning 1-0 with their pitcher just throwing a no-hitter basically, or throwing a shutout. And then it brought up, like, there was a lot of good girls softball players in college, and I'm like, where are these girls at? Some were like playing in a couple went to Mexico. I think some were in Canada. Like, but then I'm like, did the USA not pick them, and that's why they went there? Or so it's like, I feel like it's more of an aging group that was playing. Some were in their 30s, later 30s, even playing still, right. Which they're still good, right? But were we missing out on some really talented young hitters that are out there? Maybe, I don't know, because we weren't scoring runs at all, and scoring a run a game, it's only going to get you so far, and it kind of caught up with them at the end there because Japan's always tough, and so that was like right when you left to go on vacation. I remember watching that. It was on in the morning, like early. And I was all fired up. I'm like, what are they doing? Why isn't she pitching? I was like, it'd be like going to the World Series Game 7 and you have Randy Johnson available or Roger Clemens. And they're like, you know what? We're going to pitch this other guy that's on the bench. He's like our 4th starter. Or we're going to bring him in the 3rd inning. So it was weird. Like Kat Osterman, another pitcher, she's a legend too, like an amazing pitcher. So they started her, but then they took her out. So I don't know. It was bizarre to me. Yeah, but it is what it is. So they did get silver though, so that was cool. And the sport is back, which I thought was cool because I like fast pitch softball. It was gone for a few years now, and baseball is back as well. I don't know when that starts.
Yeah, it's been going on. I saw that the U.S. men got Japan beat the U.S. men.
Okay.
Like they came back in the last inning. They got a walk off.
Okay.
Somehow. So I don't exactly know what that means, but in terms of like placements and how, if it's like, I don't know if it's like
I'm assuming
Robin
it's like,
or what.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's like some kind of pool play. Yeah, same with the basketball. And I did watch some rowing too. I like watching that sport. Very interesting to me. The in water rowing.
I just saw the U.S. women like lost like they like hadn't lost in years and they didn't even get a medal or something.
Oh,
It was
really?
crazy. It was like a big upset. Yeah,
I was seeing a lot of the men's and just trying to calculate like how fast they're going, and I'm like,
fast.
yeah,
Fast.
hitting those 2Ks like that is just, and they don't even look like they rowed. They're done and they're just sitting in their boat, and the guy just starts rowing again. I'm like, and they're just rowing all out for a 2K. Um, so that was cool to see. And they were talking too about how hard those boats are to like not tip over, and like how you don't even realize it because those guys are so good at it. But if like me or you got in it, we'd probably flip right over because
Yes,
they're really
probably.
they're really thin. And but I enjoy watching. That's why I like the Olympics though. Like seeing sports you don't normally
Yeah,
see, right? We watch, football and basketball and that kind of stuff, and seeing these other sports, I do enjoy it, and seeing the athletes that are out there is just like it's crazy how good these people are at stuff. I don't know.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I seeing like I guess esoteric to us sports. Like things like archery. Like I've got a bow, but I don't never shoot it.
yeah, I
So
do.
seeing like archery,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
did when I
just
was a
like
kid. I think I had a bow, and yeah,
yeah. I saw one guy like didn't miss. He hit 9 straight base like within the what counted as like 10 points, which is the highest you could get hit on a target. Like
yeah,
9 tens. It was like, oh my gosh, the dude didn't miss. So and it's like then you're like, well, how far are they shooting? It's like 70 yards or 70 meters. It's like he's sitting that like that close from 70 meters. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
So super impressive athletes, and been watched. Saw some judo highlights and some wrestling highlights and
yeah.
some
Wrestling.
weightlifting highlights, and saw some Chinese guy that's 37 set some like Olympic record, or it might have been a world record for. I
Was
think
it
it was no, it was, I think it was.
was it Lu Xiaojun? Because he's my favorite lifter. I forget how
Yeah,
old he
he's like
is.
some really really jacked 37. He's like the oldest
Yeah,
weightlifter competing,
he looks like a
and he just
bodybuilder.
smashed everyone. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
so just
and U.S.
super
got
impressive.
two bronzes, I think, at weightlifting, which is pretty cool because not
Yeah, it's
haven't
not like
been
a major sport for us.
haven't been really relevant in it. Robles won again in I think the unlimited or whatever that category is. Um, and another girl won. She got third. I forget her name. It's it's leaving my mind, but she got third. So two bronzes. And CJ Cummings, the young kid, he's 18, 19 maybe. First
Yeah, I think
time,
he's still really young.
yeah, first time in the Olympics. He got ninth overall. So
That's good.
yeah, very good competition from him. And so we'll see what happens there. And the wrestling is definitely going on. Girl this morning won silver in freestyle.
Good.
Another girl who's probably the best female. Well, the girl this morning is really good, and there's this other girl too. There, she's going for gold. And I think the men's is starting, or they're doing a Greco right now, which is a whole
Yeah,
nother,
Greco's going on because I've seen
yeah,
some Greco stuff.
a whole nother style, right? There's folk style, Greco, freestyle, and Greco is mostly legs. It's almost like judo, or it's no leg. Excuse me. It's
Yeah,
like
it's all
judo.
upper body.
Yeah, it's more like judo, sort of, without kind of like the tosses and throws, um, but they do have. I don't want to say that because it's a lot like judo, really. No gi though, but you can't grab legs at all.
Yeah, I saw one guy tech fall his opponent by basically just running him over. It was kind of funny. He literally just kind of just ran him over. No, that like tech falled him. It was like, oh wow, that was amazing.
Yeah,
So
and it's funny you mentioned the betting because I'm in this wrestling group on Facebook and they're all like, posting the lines for the men's matchups, and I'm like, man, this is like a thing now, right? Betting on the Olympics, and I don't know, you just never really think of it like that. Well, I don't anyway, but I know people do. But I just feel like with all the new sports gambling sites and everything, it's just so popular now. There's like lines on freestyle wrestling matches now that you never thought would happen before.
yeah, for sure. Well, that I think is enough for us for today. This coming week, obviously, we have more Olympics, so I'm sure both of us will continue to watch that. We are not that far away from sort of football season picking up.
Yeah,
It's hard to believe that is the case, but
Carson Wentz is
it is
already hurt.
coming. Yeah, there you go. So some things stay the same.
Poor guy.
The more things change.
Broken foot or something.
Yeah, I think he's out. I think I saw something. He's out 7 to 12 weeks with surgery or something
Yeah,
today.
he's got foot surgery.
So
Yeah, I think you said 5 to 12 weeks, which is a weird
Yeah,
time
maybe
frame,
that's what it was. Yeah.
which makes no sense to me. But I don't understand that time frame. That's a long time
It
frame.
might be one of those things where, yeah, if everything goes really well and it's minor,
Yeah,
you heal fast. And in
usually
some
it's like
cases, it's actually,
usually it's 6 to 8 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks. It's like
yeah,
we're gonna go five to
it's a
eight.
wide range.
It's like a snowfall prediction in New Jersey, basically.
Mhm.
4 to 12 inches for sure.
Somewhere from none to a lot.
Yes, that is New Jersey snowfall. Correct.
There you go. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and listening to our sort of Olympic ramblings, I guess. Tune in next week and give a like, a subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will see you for probably more Olympic talk next week and sort of wrap up. And yeah, I think that's it. See you later, then, guys. Peace.
See ya.